to now, some people are, they don't know enough to want to get into it. Or if they do, it's in a haphazard way. So hopefully, this forum is a way for people to better understand how to approach this diet in a more studied way, not just jumping into it. Usually people have the notion when you say diet that there's a certain amount of reduction of what you eat, or you portion things. Is this also the same that you do in ketogenic diet? Do you have to apportion your diet? You have to control the amount of food that you eat. Is that right?
Well, with the ketogenic diet, and I think this is something that's a bit more special about the ketogenic, it's about proportioning. So you have three basic macronutrients, your carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And basically all diets follow a premise of how you proportion these three factors. It just so happens that in the ketogenic diet, about 40 to 50% of the calories are purely allocated to fats. So in terms of quantity, you may be eating about maybe 4,000 or 5,000 calories every single day. But if the allocation of the calories is about 50% comes from good natural fats, then you are more likely to enter a ketogenic state. I've seen people eat 3 cups of rice with just that much protein and maybe a handful of vegetables at every meal. And I think that's more typical of the Filipino diet.
And if you continue that diet, how's that like for you? I'm just saying, if you continue eating the Filipino diet, what happens to you?
Well, generally, if you look at the general Filipino population, you would see a particular body type, actually. And that's they have a big belly because of the high starch content. Because of the high starch content, right? And then, of course, the diseases are pretty much the same. So, diabetes, hypertension, it's very, very common in the local population, actually. And people are unaware that, because they're eating so much sugar, so much starch, that it's causing these problems.
Pero Dok, pag mahirap ka, di ba? Talaga namang di mo kaya magmarami ng ulam kaya mo magmarami ng kanin.
Yes, but there are other starches also.
Like what, Doc?
Well, you have kamote, right?
Bawal yan sa keto.
Okay? You have kamote. You have your vegetables, which are actually highly encouraged in a ketogenic diet. No? So vegetables, I think you can go online now and you can find broccoli rice, cauliflower rice, and all of these things to substitute for white rice. So I don't think now, I think people have been so creative to substitute rice that there are so many options, I think.
And Dr. Jem, like for yourself, you went on the ketogenic diet, but I'm sure that as a medical doctor as well, you want to study it first because there are a lot of things swirling around online. You're not too sure about it.
Yes, of course.
So how did you go about entering into the diet?
No, I was on the limited calorie diet for around 2 years, but it's like been yo-yoing my weight, and then even with extreme exercise. Then I heard a group of doctors from Makati Med doing the ketogenic diet, and I got curious, but I was hesitant at first. And then when I studied it, so I said there's a scientific reason behind it. When I entered it was okay. So I started to lose weight on the first week, and then you just continue it, and then you can see results. For me, I don't have a lot to lose, but for me, that hard to lose 17 pounds was like, I was really happy to see those.
And that was the hardest you had to lose during that 2-year period where you were on your limited calorie diet. How did you hear about it that made you hesitant at first? What were the kind of things you
Kasi
hear?
they said the others were taking chicharon as snacks and things like that, crispy pata. I mean, that was the media's
Spin on it.
crispy pata, bacon, and lechon. But when I researched on it, they have good fats. You can take the good fats like olive oil, coconut oil, then you can do salmon and good meats.
So it's your choice of what fat you want to get.
Yes, of course.
And so what's being played up is more of the fat that comes from...
it's a hype up. Even when you see in the TV.
I see.
Lechon. And the people saying, "Oh, putok-batok yan."
Yeah, that's what I would think as well, diba? So you can choose which fats you want to get.
It's not like you can just do that once a week if you're going to eat lechon. You even have the keto vegetarian delivery.
There is keto vegetarian deliveries as well.
For the most part, I think for all of us, even me when I was in med school, we're always taught to stay away from fat.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Like for all
And
of us.
actually,
yeah,
and that's actually where the biggest hindrance is, and why it's so hard to change people's mindset. Oh, you eat,
I see.
drink oil, drink coconut oil, drink all of these fats. I think that's the biggest contradicting statement.
And one thing is before I entered ketogenic diet, I noticed I have this inflammation. My hands, even if I play badminton, it was like so painful. They call it the veins. But when 2 weeks into the keto diet, it completely disappeared, even my migraine.
Wow.
Really the sugars which are the culprits.
You're right there.
Double check. Miss May, kayo naman, how did you get how did you find out about the ketogenic diet and why did you start doing it in the first place?
Well, actually, I had breakfast at home and my friend brought yung mga nook na parmesan. Queso de bolas. Ano yan? Sabi niya, well, kasi I'm starting this new diet kasi my husband is super diabetic and sabi niya ganyan, meron siyang friend who's into this ketogenic diet. Sabi ko, okay, so what is the diet about? Yung husband niya na diabetic, bumaba dramatic yung sugar niya. Nung sinabi niya sa akin yung sugar, bumaba na dramatic, doon ako na-hook. Kasi diabetic ako. I mean, my sugar goes up to 300 or more. Nung sinabi niya yung diabetic, ay, issue ko yan. So sabi ko, try ko kaya. Kasi sabi niya, May, tandaan mo, vegetarian ako ha. So for me to shift from vegetarian to now eating meat, sabi niya ganyan, it should be something that will work for me. As I started to learn about the ketogenic diet, I started to study it. As I see how it is also affecting my body. Kasi parang kahit naman ketogenic diet, hindi naman, wala na yung one size fits all eh.
Okay.
Diba? So, even as I study and as I take in a lot of fat, parang I know still na I have to make certain adjustments for the kind of, lifestyle that I have. A week or two, yung 300 kong sugar, nakakita ako ng 120 ko. Exit! So, I continued it. And nakakatuwa kasi yung sugar ko, unless talagang mag-cheat ako, tataas siya. But when I stay focused and talagang consistent ako na talagang no ako sa sugar, wow, yung sugar ko, ang ganda. Tapos sabi ko, ano man naman, ang bongga naman ng diet na to, ang sarap na. Kasi di ba, okay ang butter, okay ang keso, okay ang taba, yung mga paborito ko yun. And at the same time, sabi ko, yung dating binibilang ko ng mga gamot, doon ko pinupunta, di sa chicharon na lang.
You, Regina, you've been on the diet actually for 2 years now. Is that right? Approaching 2 years. What brought you into it initially? Was it health issue or you just want to try it out? Were you a bit overweight? What brought you there?
Lahat actually. I have been having trouble losing weight. As in, I've tried everything like that.
So you tried all different diets as well.
I've been in the gym for 3 straight hours. Pero hindi pa rin nag-lose ng weight. Kahit limited na, I've tried delivery foods na limited to 1,200 calories, hindi pa rin talaga. It reached the point na BP ko was 200 over 140.
Wow!
And the medicine that was na gumagana, ang mahal na.
Exactly!
Dahil sabi ko, ayoko umabot doon sa ganun kasi usually pag sakit, di ba? Padagdag yung gamot. So, I researched, I discovered keto, then I tried it out myself.
So this is just based all on research lang online?
Yes, research, and actually, naging makulit ako sa mga taong on keto for a long time. Kinulit ko sila online, as in chat talaga. I interviewed them, then I tried it. Actually, I was strict. I measured my food intake, the portions ng carbs, ng proteins, and first day ng grocery ko, 3 hours ako doon. As in, binabasa ko lahat ng mga labels.
Pati toothpaste, no?
Tapos, doon mo makikita yung mga low-fat na supposedly healthy, ang tataas ng sugar content for you to access your own fats. So, as long as may sugar intake ka, hindi mo ma-access yung fats mo, hindi ka mag-burn ng sarili ng fats. So, eventually, yun, nakagawa ako ng sarili kong routine. It's meat, fish, kangkong usually ang kinakain ko. Then aside the fat.
Mental alertness is one of the benefits ba ng ano?
Sobra.
Sobra ba?
Alam mo, ako lagi maupo lang ako, nakaganon na ako, para akong manok, tuka ako ng tuka. Alam mo, nung natanggal ko yung sugar, I swear.
It's for your body to come into a state of ketosis, right?
Yes.
And in the state of ketosis, that's when all the fats are what's being burned by the body.
Yes.
How do you know that your body has entered into this state of ketosis? What are the indications? So people don't get scared when it happens to them.
Well, one of the first things that most people will experience is actually that they actually start to lose weight. That's the first thing.
So that's the first indication.
They
lang.
actually feel lighter. Okay, that's the first indication. With regards to testing for when your body goes into ketosis, there are actually kits that they sell, but I find they are largely inaccurate. I don't know if the panel agrees with me on that. The urine kits, the blood kits, they're largely inaccurate. And so far, there's nothing.
So walang rule of thumb lang for at home lang people are doing this one.
No, there's no way. It's just that you will see the effects clinically, physically, and I think mentally is the biggest benefit you actually get when you go into ketosis.
Yeah, keto flu. So
Keto flu, yeah.
let's talk about the keto flu bit. So when you enter into ketosis, you enter into what people call the keto flu. That's part of the depoisoning, the transition process. Is that right?
Part of it is actually the withdrawal from all the sugar.
Ah,
I think
okay.
that's the biggest contributor to why you get this flu-like sensation. Actually, with any food, that's what happens. If you love rice, you take away rice, you get a withdrawal. You like drugs, you like methamphetamine, you take away methamphetamine, you get this flu-like sensation also. So I think it's more about the withdrawal causing it rather than the ketosis.
Sorry for being strict ako. It's hydrate and the electrolytes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Once
okay.
you start the diet, dapat yung hydration mo tama na, electrolytes tama na. When I started, it's salt with water with apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
Or lemon, konting lemon.
Okay. To create salt in the.
Sa food ko pa lang, nilalagyan ko na ng salt.
With keto, you lose a lot of salt, so they really require you to put some salt.
You lose a lot. So, kailangan
So it's
mo
okay to
siya.
make it maalat.
And how soon do you know? Say for example, if you get that one, do you push yourself to exercise?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
yet.
Okay. Not yet for a week or two.
Allow your body to adjust first para safe. Kasi kung nahihilo-hilo ka, tapos you might collapse on the treadmill or something. No? So usually we let our patients adjust first before we have them start exercise.
Ano yung safe? Safe is you're feeling, you feel safe.
You're feeling more optimal. You're feeling better. That's the first thing. You can't be in the flu-like state and then wanting to exercise.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes away
Then
quick
you're
naman.
back to action already. What's the best way to start off the diet, I guess?
Well, I think the best way is actually to start restrictions. No, bawasan mo muna. I know there's a lot of studies like saying that ketogenic is good for almost everyone, but there are also studies that say about 1/5, 20% of the population do not do well on a high-fat diet and actually causes more heart disease. So actually, seeking clearance from your doctor might be the first step to get that.
Doctor, GP, internist?
Well, I guess a cardiologist to check everything first, especially if you haven't had a physical or a checkup in a while,
Okay,
just to clear you if you can actually do this. And if you're in danger of harming yourself when you do this, I think that's the first step. Yeah, do a baseline and see what your risks are. No, I think that's the first step. Then after that, once you have the go sig done, I think the first thing that you need to do is first plan. You have to plan. You have to plan. With any diet change, you plan. Okay? Kasi it's like a complete pantry overhaul. Ganun yan.
Okay.
So I tell my patients, magpa-party ka this weekend. Ubusin mo lahat ng pagkain sa bahay mo. Block party, everyone's invited, walang hindi invited. Para ubos. Share the calories, everyone's unhealthy. And then start from a fresh pantry.
Kasi you have to commit, you have to study, you have to really be conscious as you do it. Hindi pwedeng, di ba yung parang nanggagaya ka lang? Hindi talaga po pwede yun eh. Kasi yung katawan mo, iba talaga sa akin, iba. Pero ang gusto ko lang sabihin sa mga tao, it works. It works if you work it. But you can also tweak it.
There's a lot of sugar in wine. You cannot drink wine also as well. You can.
Limited.
In moderation.
Eh di ba gusto mo namang mag-celebrate, magwa-one bottle ka, you take responsibility.
What are the other health benefits that you actually get from doing a ketogenic diet?
With ketogenic, I also recommend it for some of my cancer patients because it starves cancer.
Aminin mo, ang food ng cancer asukal.
Yes, it's one of the main food triggers of cancer. So
Okay.
it's one of the first things we have to remove, and by default, you enter ketogenesis actually. Ketosis.
okay.
So for all of my cancer patients that I deal with, one of the preventive measures I do is actually to put them into ketosis as fast as I can, as safely as I can.
Okay.
Basta hindi pa sila sobrang payat. Yan yung catch actually. Kasi some of them come in, they're quite thin already. So you put them into ketosis, they're actually worse first. So sometimes you have to ease them into it also. So ketosis, aside from cancer, I think for a lot of mental conditions that I work with some of my patients also really helps.
Depression.
Depression
I have a
helps.
friend.
And then epilepsy daw also as well, di ba?
Yes.
Originally for
Epilepsy, di ba? So like you were saying, Hon, Ms. May.
Kasi meron akong friend na nade-depress, madalas. Alam mo, sabi niya, magmula nung nag-ketogenic diet, siya tinanggal niya yung sugar, I mean, greatly improved.
And now even the obstetricians for physically provided.
For people, yung mga athletes, actually, for normal people, yung energy, steady energy talaga. Wala ka na yung kailangan mo matulog sa tanghali.
Yeah.
Kailangan mo matulog after kumain. Wala na siya. And for some people na, yung mga nakakausap ko, yung mga endurance athletes, wala yung hitting the wall na sinasabi nila. The runners, yung recovery nila, mabilis. Other ones is yung mga allergies, nabawasan yung attacks.
There's been a wealth of knowledge coming out about ketogenic diet. I'm glad we're getting to clarify a lot of these issues, even for myself. I feel a lot more things are clear in my head about how to go into the ketogenic diet. But one of the things that I'm really picking up from this one is that you have to make it an informed decision. Not just sabi-sabi lang, not just somebody that does it well. You've got to talk to either professionals or go to a group of people who are very well informed about it.
Yes.
Having said that, where can people pick up local resources for ketogenic diets here right now? You guys, where can we go right now?
Sa palengke. I mean, lahat ng kailangan sa ketogenic diet, when you go to your local market, they're all there.
Okay.
Our group, Ketogenics PH.
So people can actually join your group to help to get to know more. Is it a closed group? Do you have
It's
to get?
a close group, but if you have a friend, kasi we vet, I mean, not just anybody, para din naman maproteksyonan yung mga nasa loob. So, kasi in that group, a lot of people can tell you where to find this, or this supplement worked for me, baka gusto mo to try.
Just in case we can have people go to Ketogenics PH and hopefully they're part of the group. What are the other local resources as well? Dr. Jem,
Yeah, for us also, it's the same. We have a Keto Living PH group, which they advise and support the new ones who wants to enter the keto diet. And also, of course, to do the research first for you to know, hindi naman pwedeng ask ka ng ask everything na kakainin mo. So you have to do research. And locally, we all have, even on Instagram, social media, you can order na all the essentials for keto.
Work with BioBalance, so you can get in touch with our center there. But I think also for resources, one of the primary sources where actually I learned all about keto and got me introduced to it is a book called Primal Body, Primal Mind. Have you heard of that? It's by Nora T. Gedgadas. So she's one of the pioneers of doing paleo diet in the US. It's actually one of the foundational books that if you really want to understand it on a very simple level of how it all works and why is it good, I think that's a good starting point.
Okay. So again, thanks so much for joining us, helping to clarify a lot of the issues about the ketogenic diet. If you've got more questions, comments, insights, suggestions, please feel free to leave a message over here at our YouTube channel. Again, guys, thank